Good morning, my dear students. Today's topic of discussion is adverse drug reactions. Beside this, you will also heard a term which is known as adverse drug effect. Now, adverse effect is any undesirable or unintended consequence of drug administration. It's a broad term, and therefore this term includes all kinds of noxious effect like serious, trivial, or even fatal. The term adverse drug reaction, as per WHO, defined as the response to a drug that is noxious and unintended and that occurs at doses used in humans for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy of the disease, or for the modification of physiological function. It excludes therapeutic failures, overdose, drug abuse, non-compliance, and medication errors. So this is one of the most important characteristic feature of adverse drug reaction. Another term, adverse drug event, has been used to mean any untoward medical occurrence that may present during treatment with a medicine, but which does not necessarily have a causal relationship with the treatment. The idea is to record all adverse events at the beginning and look for causality only while analyzing pooled data. Like if someone is dying after taking COVID vaccine like Covishield after 2 days, this is basically an adverse drug event. Now you have to determine whether there is any relationship between the vaccination and death. So causality assessment is, or causal relationship assessment is, very much essential to define it, specifically define it as a adverse drug reaction. Why ADRs are problem? These are problems because the incidence of sufficient magnitude to be regarded as a public health problem, more than 5% in general practice, greater than 5% are serious, up to 20% requires hospitalization, 7% hospital admissions, 4 to 6 leading cause of all hospital deaths, and ultimately the most important thing is, if you are sincere, if you are knowledgeable, if you are aware of these things, then 30 to 60% are preventable. It may lead to failure of drug therapy. It's a nemesis of new drugs in development. Withdrawal of drugs already been marketed. One such example is Rofecoxib, where following phase 4 trial, due to the adverse drug reaction, this has been withdrawn from the market by the respective company. Huge economic and social burden. So these are the reasons why adverse drug reactions are basically becoming problem. All ADRs are not detected during drug development. That is the problem. In the phase 1, phase 2, as we all know, that is also happening with the vaccine itself. Gradually, when we will expose it to a larger population, probably the adverse drug reaction will come up with a significant statistical population. So the numbers in clinical trials seldom exceed a few thousand. That is one disadvantage. Relatively homogeneous study populations should be chosen, but that is not always possible. Basically, in India, it is more or less heterogeneous. In every state, the different kinds, the different pharmacokinetics, enzyme profiles are different. We people are different from each other. This is the reason why we used to call it unity in diversity. We have a diverse population. So heterogeneity is one of the advantage and disadvantage of everything in our country. Some ADRs, that means adverse drug reactions, occur only after long-term exposure or only on a background of concomitant illness. So there are few examples where drug has been withdrawn following phase 4 trial, when the drug is already marketed, but in spite of being marketed, we see that significant adverse drug reactions happened with the drug. Though the drug is effective, this is being withdrawn from the market by the respective company. One such example is rofecoxib, which is basically a painkiller or analgesic, more or less paracetamol-like drug. It's a COX-2 inhibitor. It causes significant case of myocardial infarction and hypertension, and hence being withdrawn from the market. Similarly, another example is cerebrastatin, which causes a kind of statin, which is a hypolipidemic drug, being withdrawn due to rhabdomyolysis. I mean, the muscle destruction was there, so that is the reason why, and it will ultimately lead to renal failure. So that is the reason why it is being withdrawn. Troglitazone, it causes hepatotoxicity. Nowadays, many of these troglitazone is basically a drug used in diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus, or non-insulin, as though this term is obsolete, non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. There is another one which has been withdrawn a few years back due to bladder toxicity, that is pioglitazone, which is still now being marketed after undergoing clinical trial in Indian population. And grapefloxacin, which is basically a group which is basically belonging to a group of fluoroquinolones. The same group of drugs are ciprofloxacin, ofloxacin, norfloxacin, this type of drugs, but this drug is causing ventricular arrhythmia, and hence it is being withdrawn. The classification of ADS can be done by various ways. By onset, it can be acute within 1 hour of exposure, subacute within 1 to 24 hours, latent where the starting is after 24 hours, and delayed starting long after the exposure. You can classify it on the basis of severity. Mild does not affect routine activities or does not require additional treatment. Moderate, it affects routine life and requires more than a casual treatment. And the severe, where the major disruption happens and which may be fatal to the patient. The ADR or adverse drug reactions can also be classified alphabetically. Type A is called augmented type. That means if you increase the dose, the adverse drug reaction will increase. Very simple example is antihistaminics. When we have allergy, running nose, we used to take cetirizine-like drug. So if you increase the dose of cetirizine, your sedative effect of cetirizine will increase. This is a kind of augmented type of reaction. So extension of known pharmacological effect, it is known that cetirizine is going to cause sedative effect. More common, often predictable. These are dose dependent. More you increase the dose, more will be the augmented reaction. More likely to be preventable, but may or may not be related to drugs intended action. There are multiple examples given over here which are not cetirizine like thing, and you need not have to memorize this at this moment. When you go to the individual chapter, automatically you will know this reaction is adverse drug reaction, and this is also in layman's term called side effect, and this will be remembered automatically. You need not have to memorize. Type B is called Bizarre type of reaction. B for bizarre. So it is qualitatively abnormal response, unrelated to primary pharmacological action. It is less common, obviously not predictable, no clear dose response effect, and difficult to prevent, and hence it becomes more or like very serious, and some have genetic or immunological basis for this kind of reactions. Very common example is chloramphenicol and aplastic anemia. Chloramphenicol is usually previously given for the treatment of typhoid fever. Now, even a drop of chloramphenicol in eye due to eye infection may cause suppression of bone marrow. Even it can be dose dependent. Increased dose of chloramphenicol may lead to this kind of aplastic anemia or bone marrow suppression. So this is a kind of bizarre type of reaction. Next comes C, C for chronic. It occurs after prolonged exposure related to drug accumulation, predictable and preventable by regular supervision. The examples are phenacetin and nephropathy, and that is the reason why phenacetin has been withdrawn. It is not been withdrawn, rather it is not used nowadays. Its active metabolite paracetamol is used, which is a safer alternative. Type D reaction, which is also known as delayed, D for delayed type of reactions, occurring long after drug exposure, unrelated to dose, and it is not predictable. A very common example is teratogenicity. Terato means it's basically monster. Teratogenicity happens in case of, when the fetus is in the womb of the mother. That means in pregnancy, if you prescribe some kind of drug, it may lead to this kind of delayed type of reaction, and that is another type of reaction. That is also, this D is also known as delayed type. Type E, this is known as the end of treatment. That means that withdrawal effect is being shown. Suppose a person is getting beta blocker for a very long time. A patient is having angina pectoris, that means chest pain, and I have explained the upregulation and the downregulation of the receptors. Now suddenly the patient thinks that he is okay actually with medication, but the person thinks that he or she is okay, will be okay even without medication, and suddenly stop the medication. What will happen? The cover of beta blocker will be removed, and suddenly there will be upregulation of the receptor, and the adrenaline will bind with this receptor, and it will lead to severe attack of angina. It may lead to severe hypertension, maybe cerebrovascular accident like stroke. So all these fives, A, B, C, D and E, are alphabetical classification of adverse drug reactions. These are some examples of organ-specific toxicities, like bleomycin causes pulmonary fibrosis, corticosteroid osteoporosis, isoniazid hepatotoxicity, ethacryonic acid ototoxicity. Now, as I said before, there are some things written here, B, A. So this will be explained later when I will going to explain the teratogenic effect of the drug. And also I have explained this BA. B stands for bizarre, A stands for augmented. So this classification is, you should not confuse it with the teratogenicity. There also you will see A, B, C, D and X. The classification was like that. So you just have to concentrate on the fact that these are the common adverse drug reactions of the drugs written in the left hand side. If you try to memorize it right now, it's okay. Otherwise we will discuss these drugs later on, because you have enough time in your hand. When you will read individual chapter, automatically the toxicities will be remembered by all of you. There are immune reactions, and these reactions are called immunological reactions are called different types of hypersensitivity reaction. The first and the most important one is type 1 hypersensitivity, which I explained in case of physiological antagonism. This is basically a IgE mediated hypersensitivity reaction, also known as anaphylactic shock. There are three common drugs which may cause this kind of reaction: penicillin, lignocaine and streptomycin. Lignocaine is a local anesthetic, penicillin is an antibiotic, and streptokinase is basically a fibrinolytic given in case of myocardial infarction. Type 2, it's an antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. It may happen with hemolysis with methyl dopa. It is not complement mediated, and this is a type 2 reactions, mostly an antigen antibody reaction. Type 3 is complement mediated, and it may lead to serum sickness, immune complex mediated. There are multiple examples like Stevens-Johnson syndrome, then your 10 toxic epidermal necrosis, the skin reactions, the procainamide induced lupus syndrome. These are all examples of type 3 reactions. Type 4 is a delayed type of reaction. It is happened with tuberculin test, Mantoux test. So there you see there is a delayed type of hypersensitivity. The T cells are activated after 24 to 48 hours. So this is a common example of type 4 reaction. though the contact dermatitis is being mentioned in this slide. What is a serious ADR? They are a fatal type, it's a life threatening, it requires prolonged hospitalization. I will show you later a few of the cases from you will see few cases in one of my presentation in dermatological pharmacology. Few of the cases from our own hospital. Requires prolonged hospitalization. It causes permanent disability, causes incapacitation, congenital anomaly, requires intervention to prevent significant injury. As I said, I have few of the pictures of few of my patients in our college, ESI Medical College. Is being treated by the Department of Dermatology with pharmacology and medicine and the ICU people. So it's ultimately a total care, and we will definitely show you the pictures of those things. Obviously, we have offline class, and it will be easier for me to demonstrate all these things. Otherwise, I will definitely going to show you those pictures of those patients uh, later part when you will become a little bit of accustomed with the subject pharmacology. Who are more at risk of ADS? The extreme of age groups, the pregnancy and the breastfeeding. That is the reason why the COVID-19 injection is not given in pregnancy and the breastfeeding people. Yes, the breastfeeding people, the people who are having hepatic impairment. That means the drugs are metabolized via liver, so there is a chance of ADR. The renal impairment, that means chronic renal failure or the acute renal failure. The term acute renal failure is obsolete nowadays. It is now being replaced by acute kidney injury, AKI. Certain other illnesses like heart failure, epilepsy, porphyrins, and genetic polymorphisms. One such example of genetic polymorphism or pharmacogenetics is the there is a problem in the level of cholinesterase enzyme. Pseudocholinesterase deficiency has been seen in many patients, and we were looking at the fact that if those patients are having lesser number of this pseudocholinesterase, they are having problem with muscle relaxants like succinylcholine, because this is a metabolizing enzyme and the drug is not metabolized, hence the drug is not eliminated from the body, and this drug will have a permanent effect, causing permanent paralysis and affecting diaphragm. So it lead to kind of apnea called succinylcholine apnea. So this is an example of genetic polymorphism. So the ADR causality assessment is extremely important. Temporal relationship you have to measure, the nature of reaction, which kind of reaction that you have to identify, the history of similar reaction previously happened or not, you have to take it from the history. You have to exclude the co-founders like related disease, food, environmental exposures, which is being done when somebody is having stroke after taking Covishield injection. De-challenge and re-challenge, that is not possible. That is the problem with most of the drugs, because there comes the ethics. So ethical problem is such that you just cannot give the medication for the second time to the patient. So re-challenge is basically extremely difficult to these people. There are two scales with the help of which we are actually trying to measure these things, the ADR. One is called Narango scale and the other one is called WHO UMC scale. So both the scales are more or less important, and they are good enough to explain these things. Avoiding ADR in clinical practice is difficult, but if a clinician is aware of the fact of this ADR, obviously the clinician can sincerely try it out. Avoid polypharmacy. So select single drug wherever it is possible, but it is not possible in elderly people. They are getting more than 1, 2 or 3 drugs. Use drugs only if it is really indicated. So unnecessary prescription just for the sake of pharmaceutical company is not advisable. Take careful drug history. So history taking is extremely important. Be well acquainted with actions and toxicity profile of the drug. So here comes the role of pharmacology. You have to know. You should not learn it from the medical representative, but learn it by your own, by reading books or from your teachers. the common actions and the toxicity profile of a drug. Be extra cautious with the new drug, just like the fact that we are very cautious about the COVID vaccination because it's a new drug. Once ADR detected, consider dose modification or drug withdrawal. So, if we are actually finding that this COVID vaccination is causing significant number of definite adverse drug reaction, not adverse event, definite adverse drug reaction, we will probably withdraw that drug from the market. Are all ADRs reported? The simple answer is no. Who are the most, people who can report this? The pharmacist, all the doctors, the medical students like you, the sisters, the nursing faculties, the nursing people. And the most sincere one, in my experience, I have seen the nursing people. It's very unfortunate that we people are not that aware, and we don't have that much of interest while reporting ADRs. The reporting system mechanism often do not exist. Only 2 to 4% of all ADRs are reported, and only 10% of serious ADRs are reported. Actually, we treat those patients, but reporting is usually not done. It is often assumed that someone else will report. That is the farce of the whole story. Now here comes the role of pharmacovigilance, the science and activities which is relating to the detection, assessment, understanding and prevention of adverse effect or other drug related problems. So all these things are important. Again, I am repeating, the detection, the assessment, the understanding and the prevention of adverse effect or other drug related problem is known as pharmacovigilance. We have certain strategies, spontaneous ADR reporting, that we will teach you even practically. We will show you the form in this slide, in the following slides. The intensive inpatient monitoring, prescription event monitoring, you have to see the prescription, different prescriptions, the different drugs they are getting. The database mining, so you have to store a database and record linkage. This is a post-marketing surveillance. As I mentioned, following this phase 4 trial, you have to mention that this system in Western countries, especially in UK, is called yellow page system. The clinical trials is, I have mentioned it before, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, specifically phase 4. Other clinical studies, because in case of phase 1 and phase 2, we are actually really cautious. Even in phase 3. From phase 4 onwards, we actually become a little bit lenient regarding this. Other clinical studies and epidemiological studies. So, how will we communicate under PVPI? So, when we are getting up at adverse drug reaction, we will report it to the local center. So, here the Department of Pharmacology in ESI Joka is your local reporting center. So, from there it will go to your regional centers. So there are different regional centers here in the eastern part of our country. So we can report it there, or we can report it to directly to the National Coordination Center, that is IPC Ghaziabad. So the healthcare professional to the ADR monitoring center. There are some registered ADR monitoring center like SSKM Hospital, like Tropical Medicine. So those are registered. Now, if I am getting something, I used to report to them, and they used to report to Ghaziabad. Ghaziabad is basically nothing but the CDSCO headquarter of New Delhi. So all drug related information is being carried out from there. Even the Director General of Drug Control General of India is also coming under this CDSCO. They have different zonal offices. In Eastern Zone, it is Kolkata. So we have that advantage. And ultimately, whatever may be the number of reactions obtained or is being stored in Ghaziabad, in their database, in the data pool, it will be transferred or shifted to Uppsala Monitoring Center at Sweden. So that is the most important thing. So this is the form which you have to fill up. One thing you just have to remember, you just cannot disclose the name of the patient. So either the patient's admission identification number or the initial of the patient's name. Like if your name is suppose Shorin Rai, so you can write SR here, and you mention the registration number which is given during admission or the number which is written in his or her prescription, the age and other details, and then you just follow these ones. uh, these are very easy things. The reaction, time of reaction, time of recovery, if it is recovered, seriousness, and all these things you have to fill up. Now what are the other drugs the patient is getting should be filled up here, and at the end you have to sign over here, and you not have to worry for that, whether it's a sister or a medical student or a person like me, a doctor can give their address, personal address, sign over here, and ultimately submit this form to the Department of Pharmacology at ESI Joka. Now here, if a person is getting multiple drugs and if you cannot detect which drug is responsible, you have to register all the drugs, and actually you have to stop all the drugs, because otherwise it's very difficult for you to detect which drug is responsible for causing the problem. And if mistakenly if you keep the drug by stopping the other drugs, then it proves to be fatal to the patient. So you can't do that unless the drug is absolutely life-saving one. And we will show you this form, and we all have to fill up this form in practical part of pharmacology. This is also a part of practical. So this part will be given during your practical examination, and obviously I will demonstrate you, and we will definitely get an opportunity. So offline we will demonstrate you how will you fill it up. But from here I think you have a little bit of idea. The one thing you just have to remember, you should not disclose the identity of the patient. Just give initials and his registration number, means the number with which the patient is either coming at the outdoor or the patient is admitted, the indoor number. So whom to report? Use the suspected adverse drug reaction reporting form to report any ADR. Form available in all AMC or download from www.ipc.gov.in or www.cdsco.nic.in. The field reporting form can be submitted to the AMC or directly to the NCC. A reporter can also mail the form at PVPI IPC India. There is an app, basically there is an app that is called PVPI app. If you just in the Google Play give the search PVPI, you will get this app, and accordingly they will show you what you have to do. So just by doing that, I mean following the protocol showing by PVPI, you will learn what you have to do. The teratogenicity is basically the intrauterine development of fetal growth is hampered in the anatomical, behavioral, physical functioning, and these are happening due to drug use. So all drugs are not safe in pregnancy. Basically, no drugs are safe in pregnancy. So how will you classify drugs? In the drugs used in pregnancy, the one that is drug A, like insulin, thyroid hormone, iron tablet, folic acid, which you have to give in the first trimester. If patient is having diabetes, you have to give insulin. Usually the control studies, they have shown no risk in first trimester. B means the animal studies show no risk. Usually we used to say these drugs are also safe drugs, like paracetamol, like chloroquine in malaria, like ranitidine in case of peptic ulcer, but not pantoprazole, like antacids, which are safe in pregnancy. Drug C. Here you have to measure the risk-benefit ratio. There are some drugs like metoclopramide, the drug like aspirin, the drug like atropine, the drug like ciprofloxacin from the fluoroquinolone. So these are, you have to measure the risk-benefit and accordingly you have to select. If you think the benefit is more, then you may have to prescribe. Drug D. One example is doxycycline or tetracycline group of drugs. Evidence are there, they are causing risk to the fetus. Doxycycline is causing both anomalies in the teeth and the growth of articular cartilage, as well as it will cause hepatotoxicity to the mother. But again, if the benefit is more, you may prescribe, nobody can sue you. Whereas X, pregnancy X drug is basically the drugs which you cannot prescribe. If you prescribe this drug in pregnancy, those patients can sue you and may take you to the court. So those drugs are thalidomide. Thalidomide is a drug which was invented in 1962 as a anti-anxiety sedative hypnotic drug, and it's later being seen that this drug is causing phocomelia, that means loss of limbs in case of fetus. The drug actually was banned at that point of time. Later on it came back for different indications like refractory rheumatoid arthritis, in cancer patients like multiple myeloma, in some other infections. So thalidomide is used nowadays but not in pregnancy. And as I said, placental barrier is an incomplete barrier. In pregnancy there are 3 stages. The first stage is the developmental stage. It is ranging from 17 to 55. Before 17 it's a all or none phenomenon. Either the the fetus will survive or the fetus will die if you take any kind of medications or toxic medications, or the medications which is toxic to the fetus. So there is no chance of having any kind of teratogenicity. But from 17 to 55 days there is a chance of developmental anomaly. So this trimester, that means the first trimester of pregnancy, is most important, and you must be very, very careful. There are drugs like ACE inhibitors in pregnancy, used in pregnancy. So those drugs should be avoided. Then comes the second trimester and the third trimester. So you also have to be very careful in that regard. Normally the drugs many of the drugs are prescribed in those times, but still it is better to be avoided. Actually no drug is in that sense safe in pregnancy, and the whole physiological system is going to be changed in pregnancy. Like in case of thyroid hormone, the concentration of free thyroid hormone is going to be modified as there is a change in the plasma protein, and therefore the fraction of bound thyroid binding protein is increased. The total amount of active thyroid hormone or free thyroxine is going to be decreased at that moment, and bound thyroxine is going to be increased. And what happened if the patient is hypothyroid? Then the baby will suffer from hypothyroidism though the patient is on drug. So what will you do? You will do one thing. You have to measure the free T3, T4 in case of pregnancy, and accordingly if it is required you have to increase the dose of thyroid hormone. So in pregnancy the whole physiological system is changed, and accordingly you have to change the dose of different drugs. So these are common examples, as I mentioned, of the drugs which I was telling. The iron and folic acid will also fall in this category. Drug A, paracetamol, amoxicillin. The drug B category. These are safe drugs in our term. From here onwards you have to measure risk benefit ratio C and D, whereas X is basically a pregnancy X drug, that means it is absolutely contraindicated in pregnancy and one can be sued for prescribing these drugs. So you must be very, very careful while giving this drug and take proper history of the patients, the female patients. So there are no safe drugs, only safe doctors. So with this, I am concluding my presentation on adverse drug reaction. Thank you so much for your patient hearing.